He was the perfect TV dad, the calm voice, the wise advice, the polished suit, and that steady smile that reassured millions of viewers that everything was going to be okay. But behind the clean-cut charm of Ward Cleaver stood a man who's real. Life was far more complicated than the roles he played. Hugh Bowmont might not be a name that jumps out today, but at one time, he was in almost every living room in America. Yet most people have no idea who he really was or how many sides his life had. Born Eugene Hugh Bowmont on February 16, 1909, in the small town of Odora, Kansas, he grew up surrounded by fields, faith, and the values that came with small town life. He wasn't born into fame, money, or connections. His early life was built around family, church, and the quiet rhythms of the Midwest. That humble background shaped him deeply and stayed with him long after the cameras stopped rolling. Even when he found his way to Hollywood, the same moral compass that guided him as a young boy continued to influence every decision he made. It wasn't just part of his upbringing, it was part of who he was. What many people don't know is that Bowmont wasn't just an actor. Before Hollywood ever came calling, he was studying theology, preparing for a life in ministry. He went from the University of Chattanooga to the University of Southern California, where he earned a Master of Theology degree. That's not exactly the typical resume of a Hollywood leading man. He was a licensed Methodist minister, and even, while acting, he would fill in at churches across Southern California, delivering sermons when he wasn't on set. His faith wasn't a side note. It was central. And if you ever wondered why his characters seemed so genuine, that's part of the answer. He brought real conviction to the roles he played. Bowmont's early career in Hollywood started slowly, like many others. In the 1940s, he worked mostly in low-budget films and serials. He played roles that often echoed his real-life values. Honest. Men, private detectives, characters with a strong sense of right and wrong. His tall frame, calm voice, and serious presence made him perfect for film noir roles. One of his best-known early parts was as Detective Michael Shane. These were the types of characters audiences could trust, and directors knew they could count on him to deliver. He didn't chase fame with flashy roles. Instead, he built a reputation as someone solid, dependable, and quietly impressive. Things changed dramatically in 1957. That's when he took on the role that would define his career, Ward Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver. It was a show that mirrored the values of 1950s America, orderly, idealistic, and safe. Bowmont played the father everyone wished they had. He didn't yell, he didn't lecture. He offered calm wisdom and gentle lessons, always with warmth and patience. Alongside Barbara Billingsley, who played June Cleaver, the two created a version of family life that felt perfect, even if it wasn't real. At the time, the show did well, but it was in reruns that it became iconic. Generations grew up with. That image of the Cleaver family and Bowmont's version of fatherhood shaped how many people viewed parenting for years to come. But what audiences saw wasn't always what was happening behind the scenes. Bowmont believed in professionalism. He took his work seriously and expected others to do the same, especially the young actors on set. He was known for helping them with their lines, encouraging them to keep up with their schoolwork, and offering advice. For some, he was like a real-life mentor. For others, things weren't as smooth. The tension between Bowmont and his on-screen son, Tony Dow, who played Wally, was one of the more surprising parts of the show's behind-the-scenes story. On screen, they seemed close. Off screen, it was a different story. Bowmont reportedly grew frustrated with Dow's lack of experience and his restless energy. He saw it as unprofessional. The discipline Bowmont valued so highly seemed missing in Dow's approach. And while Dow was just a kid doing his best, Bowmont had little patience for what he saw as carelessness. It wasn't a public feud. They didn't fight in front of the camera. But those close to the production could tell. Bowmont would get agitated during rehearsals, and there were reports that he even tried to have Dow replaced. That never happened, and the show went on. But when it finally ended in 1963 after 6 seasons, Bowmont was reportedly relieved. He rarely mentioned Dow in later interviews, and when he did, his tone was noticeably colder compared to how he spoke about the rest of the cast. What's interesting is that Dow never said much about the tension. He always spoke positively about the show and seemed unfazed. Maybe he never noticed, or maybe he chose to let it go. After Leave It to Beaver, Bowmont didn't disappear right away. He continued acting, mostly in guest roles on shows like Petticoat Junction, The Virginian, and Manx. He also started exploring other parts of the industry, writing scripts, directing, and even publishing short stories. His writing wasn't just a hobby. He sold television screenplays and wrote for radio, showing that he had a real gift for storytelling beyond acting. His short stories were published in popular magazines, and they reflected his ability to create compelling characters with emotional depth. Eventually, though, he started pulling back from Hollywood. He wanted something simpler, something quieter. In the late 1960s, he bought a farm in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, and became a Christmas tree farmer. It was a peaceful life, far from the sound stages and studio lights. It gave him the kind of routine and connection to nature that he'd always enjoyed. He wasn't trying to impress anyone, he was looking for meaning and comfort. The same moral and spiritual values that brought him into acting now pulled him back to the land. His personal life had its own ups and downs. He married actress Catherine Adams Nahon in 1941. They were together for 33 years and had 3 children, 2 sons, Hunter and Mark, and a daughter, Christy. While their family life was mostly kept out of the spotlight, it provided him with a stable foundation. In an industry filled with short-lived marriages, theirs was unusually long. But even that eventually came to an end when they divorced in 1974. Still, the impact he had on his children was lasting, especially his eldest son, Hunter. Instead of following his father into acting, Hunter became a psychotherapist and author, living and working in Germany. His career in mental health and writing showed a different path, but one that still reflected the intellectual curiosity and values passed down from his father. Bowmont's life had another twist in 1970 when he suffered a stroke. It was a serious blow that forced him to slow down and rethink his priorities. He officially retired from acting in 1972, but made a special appearance in 1980 for a Leave It to Beaver reunion. It was a moment that brought everything full circle, allowing fans to celebrate him and giving Bowmont a chance to acknowledge the role that defined him, even if it never told his full story. On May 14, 1982, Hugh Bowmont passed away from a heart attack while visiting his son Hunter in Munich, West Germany. He was 72. It was a quiet end to a life that had touched millions, even if they never knew the man behind the role. His legacy wasn't just about television, it was about a commitment to values, to discipline, to faith, and to the belief that what you do matters, even when the spotlight turns off. What's even more fascinating is the parts of Bowmont that most fans never got to see. Beyond acting and ministry, he had a deep love for music. He was an accomplished jazz drummer and played with local bands whenever he could. It was something he truly enjoyed, a way to express himself away from scripts and cameras. He also loved the outdoors, fishing, camping, hiking. He found real peace in nature. It was where he felt most grounded, away from the pressures of Hollywood. Colleagues who worked with him often spoke about his unexpected sense of humor. On screen, he was serious and composed, but behind the scenes, he was full of dry, witty remarks and funny stories. That quiet charm made him both respected and liked, even when tensions ran high. Hugh Bowmont's life wasn't perfect, and it wasn't always easy. But it was full. He wore many hats: actor, minister, writer, farmer, father, drummer. And through it all, he stayed true to who he was. He believed in discipline, respect, and purpose. He may have played the perfect TV dad, but in real life, he was far more complex and far more interesting. If you've ever wondered how someone can balance Hollywood with real values, or how a man can go from leading a hit show to planting Christmas trees, Bowmont's life might just be the most surprising story you never heard. If you enjoyed learning about Hugh Bowmont's incredible life, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment with your thoughts. Was Ward Cleaver your favorite TV dad, or were you surprised by what was happening behind the scenes? There's always more to the story than what we see on screen, and Hugh Bowmont proved that better than anyone.